A lot of people ask me, why do I carry such big journals when I'm walking perhaps 20, 30 miles, 40, 50 kilometers a day, carry all of this weight in my backpack? Well, there's a very good reason for this. These journals are one of my communication tools, a major one of my communication tools. I often joke that loads of people, they travel with a journal. Normally, it's a very small thing and it's very personal to them. So I often joke, well, you know, small book, small story, big book, big story. So what happens is I create a journal like this, or I at least ask people to create a journal for me that I can fill in. In this case, this one is called the Book of Fairy Tales. And the reason I got this journal is because I was walking from San Francisco through to Sarajevo, and I'd already walked through California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Kansas, and in Missouri, I met a very lovely young lady called Sandra Goodman. And when Sandra came to walk with me, she walked with me from Missouri through to Washington, D.C., and then a little bit through Europe. She said something at the start of the walk. She said, "Imagine I'm your fairy godmother and I'm going to grant you three wishes. What would they be?" So I thought, well, the first thing I'd like is some money because I was always struggling for money. And then, the second thing I'd like would be some sort of sponsorship for equipment, boots especially. And then the third thing I'd like would be a nice, big, beautiful journal about this big called the Book of Fairy Tales to take with me for the rest of my journey through to Sarajevo. I was going to a dangerous place. Sarajevo, 1995, was at war. The city had been at siege for 3 years. I was going there to plant a tree. I had to walk through a war zone. I had an idea of where I was going. And I thought, well, in order for me to get through there, I have to be able to tell beautiful stories to everyone I meet, and I hope that, people are not going to be in such a rush to kill and offer the fairy tales, which I am. So anyway, amazingly, within a month, she had managed to get me sponsorship from out of the blue. Money came in so I could complete my trip without having to think about where money was coming from. And then she got her friends to make me up this beautiful book. And I'll give you an introduction to the book. Now, I haven't met the people who made this book, but they were very, very professional. So it's handmade. And they wrote a lovely little note here at the start of the book. It says, "The end papers are handmade with aster petals that they incorporated into the fibre. The fly sheet is marbled tsunami paper." Here it is, very beautiful. Signatures are hand sewn with Irish linen thread. The head and tail bands are linen. The cover is imitation leather with gold foil stamping. The bookbinder, who is a classically trained treasure, added spaces between some leaves, so when you paste things onto the pages, the cover won't bulge. That was very important because I do put things into the pages. So this gorgeous book was handmade for me by people I never met. So here, for example, I have here, they're so delicate, this tsunami paper. This is a photo from the start of my journey from the Golden Gate Bridge. And you'll notice here I'm wearing a cowboy hat. A friend of mine gave me the cowboy hat. I'd never otherwise wear one, but she gave me this cowboy hat to start my walk. This was May the 15th, 1994. And I had that hat all the way through to Nevada where I lost it. And it was really funny because every time saw me with this hat on and they'd say hello, they'd always say, howdy, like a cowboy. And then I would, do things like this to try and make the book as beautiful as possible. A tale of the man from the forest. And what would happen is I would come into a place with my journal, let's say a restaurant, cafe, and I would open up my journal, put it on the table, and I'd start to write in it. I'd be writing in it, and usually within minutes, if there were kids in a restaurant, the kids would come on over to see what was happening, to see the book. Very soon after, then the adults would be there. And they'd be asking me about the book, and I'd tell them about my journey. And next thing you know, there'd always be somebody who could speak English, no matter what country I was in, no matter how small the village was. Someone would always appear who could speak a bit of English, and they'd say, whoa, would you like to come and speak at the school, plant a tree? Would you like to come and meet the mayor? I know somebody in the media. And so these books became very, very important. They were my introduction. And I would write in them. I would write in them about my journey as it was happening. I would have pictures of the events, the people that I'd met. And this book was super important because it really did save my life. Walking from Mostar to Sarajevo, where the war was raging, I was arrested 6 times. And each time, many times, what was discussed was about me and should I be shot, killed or not. And every time this book would be brought out from my sleeping bag, from my backpack, because the soldiers would always go through it religiously. And they would pull out this book and then they would open it up, and then next thing you know, they'd be chatting to me. I'd show them the things in the book, we'd become friends. And by the time I left, I always left with a meal and soldiers waving goodbye to me. And because of this book, I was able to safely walk through a war zone. Also, I used to put this in my backpack, as I said, and when I was walking through areas where I thought there might be snipers, I thought, well, maybe if somebody shot me through the backpack, this book might actually stop the bullet. And I'm actually being very serious about that. I had a bright yellow jacket that was from sponsors, but and I could have used it in the rain, of course. But walking from Mostar to Sarajevo, I decided I can't put this on because I'd stand out like the sun in a place where I knew there were snipers. I also had a gas tank, for my cooker, a little gas tank, and I decided to get rid of it because I thought, well, if I got shot through the backpack, maybe the backpack and the bullet and the back and this book might stop the bullet, but it might hit the gas tank and blow me up. So it was a very real consideration. But these books, these journals, were vital to my communication. And it didn't matter whether they were like this or whether they were just a regular journal, they were always big. And I always consider them to be a part of my magical toolkit. The other very important thing in my magical toolkit of communication was my walking stick, which was always big. It was a staff. So people could see that I was different from a regular walker, a regular hiker. I was actually going places, and people take a look at the staff, which were really beautiful works of art. Then they would ask me about the journey, and then next thing you know, I'll be planting trees, meeting mayors on the television, maybe having a little bit of food, a bit of support, and then I'll be walking down the road to the next place.